civics lesson and so many things, but so passionate, loves his country, and you could just hear it in his voice, his guest, and his it's first rate. So if you look him up, if you've never heard the show, Liberty Roundtable, and you can find him online. But great guy. All right, seriously, folks, when did the Democrats become the party of free stuff? Because it just seems that that's the enticement for so many people, especially for those who vote, for the Dems these days, that everything should be given to you. Your education should be given to you. The health care should be given to you. Everything should be given to you. Free money, coupones, subsidies of all sizes, all shapes, and for the illegals and all of these things. When did it happen? Because one of the icons, and as many astute listening audience folks here, members, male and female, that have been around for a while, understand that the kilt, if you will, of JFK is so much different. The Dems, they had more of a Republican notation next to their names than these Dems, but it has changed. I mean, what was it that JFK said, ask what your country, not what your country could do, but what you can do for your country? I mean, isn't that more or less what he said? That was more the idea. But it's changed so much. And I love to listen to that speech. I mean, it resonates, and it inspired so many people. But that's not the message. It's not the ideology. Asking government to provide more for its citizens and more for its non-citizens. And, from that perspective, folks, it turns on its head the iconic message that I mentioned, Democrat John F. Kennedy, to ask what your country can do for you. Don't ask. Ask what you can do for your country. But that's not the message any longer. Not the progressives. That's not what everybody's calling. But, Kennedy, if you remember back in the 60s, I was born in 1970, but, he was sponsoring fresh ideas and endeavors such as the Peace Corps. He also inspired a generation to view government service as a sacred higher calling. But the Kennedy model was strongly rooted in the notion of self-reliance, as well as the belief explicitly stated in his inaugural address that you should listen to, that government is not there to serve us. We are there to serve it. Where did we go wrong, folks? After JFK's assassination, President Lyndon Johnson, he declared an unconditional war on poverty. Its aim, he said, was not only to relieve the symptoms of poverty, but to cure it, and above all, to prevent it. Do you remember that? At the 50-year mark, we were suggesting that LBJ went further than Kennedy would have done, and its mixed results lie at the root of today's bitter partisan divide on the way to improve the individual's economic status. And then if you listen to the debates, a little over a year ago, which brings us to that October 13th date, that I was listening back on some audio yesterday between the 5 Democrats running for president then. On the Democratic side, the discussion shifting sharply left with Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, a self-described Democratic socialist, leading the charge, saying that he had the answers and that we should do so much more and just empty out our wallets and empty out all the wallets of all the corporations and just become socialist. Let's just free for all. Just empty it out. You don't have to earn it. Everybody be on the same level. It sounds good, right? Democratic socialists explained to the Post that they aren't talking about using government to take over large sections of the economy. They just want government to pay for it. That's all. That's all they wanted to do, just have the government pay for it. Well, who in the heck gives the money to the government? Who does that? Oh, so actually, those big corporations that you hate so much, these are the people that actually give you the job. Oh, you forgot it. You know what? I remember working for a small radio station many, many years ago in my 20s. And I worked for several stations and, kind of rising up to the occasion. And I was not, let's say, necessarily too fond of my boss at that time. He really wasn't a nice person. But he would occasionally hear people talk about him. And he put something up where our paychecks were posted to a corkboard. And he says, you think the boss is so stupid? What do you think your paycheck comes from? ASS, you fill in the HOLE. And I thought about that. This guy provides a paycheck for me. And you know what? My behavior changed. I realized that he had a right to be the way he wanted to be, and I needed just to chill out. And you know what? My behavior changed, and we actually became better friends after that. It took a little while, but we were, I could go out and have a sandwich with a guy. It was not as awkward. And he warmed up. Not everybody in the building followed along, but that always stuck with me. And when you hear the progressives, they talk about the big greedy corporations and all that, and then the tax breaks that the Republicans give to the corporations, well, no wonder how many people do they employ. And the Democrats, their strategy is just to give it all away and then watch the national debt mount up. And guess what, folks? The national debt went up more than any other president in history next to Barack Hussein Obama. Taking credit for Wall Street's achievements. And by the way, cashing in on it. With millions of dollars worth of his speeches, it is the same people that he said he hated, that he despised, that he's living off. Oh, minorities. If they only knew how taken advantage that they are. They don't really get it. They don't understand it, and a lot of them don't want to understand. But, a lot more are coming to their senses and realizing they've been used by the Democrats. Used. And they should really feel used by Barack Obama. And by the way, they didn't respect him. Because remember the little rallying speech that Barack gave before sailing off to the mansion there? He didn't really leave Washington. He's got his mansion there. But if you don't vote for me, I'll take it as a personal insult. Well, guess what? I know many African Americans and Cubans and Puerto Ricans and Jews and white people. Oh, yes, white people. A lot of people voted for Donald Trump. And not everybody told everybody about who they voted for in the voting booth, because that's your business. That's your business. But a lot more did vote because it made sense. Is it so unusual to have white people in America? And point it out? Like I say, there's so many people that like to digress, love to just lament in pig manure. They love it. They like to be in the troughs with the pigs. Let's move on. Let's move forward. When I hear about the Civil War, and I hear about the Boston Tea Party, I hear about Gettysburg, Shiloh, and all these different things that are happening, and the struggle that we've had as a nation to be able to come together to this point. We have come such a long way from where we were. We've come this far. I say, let's not stop. This should give us more fervor to continue on fighting for the good fight, but not fighting each other. It's like there's a whole nother civil war going on within our country. You heard me. Am I not right about this? There's another civil war going on. And it's interesting for the people who claim that they were going to unite us with hope and change, divided us even more and still continued to do the very thing. Michelle Obama, do you think her words are doing any good, uniting people together? Not at all. But she seems to have an audience for it there in Virginia. Let's hear it.
If we're trying to get anything done and we look around and we all look alike, we're all sitting around the same table and we feel really comfortable with ourselves, we should question that at any table that we're at. And we should be working actively to mix it up so that we're getting a real broad range of perspectives on every issue.
Okay, so do you make it a point, Michelle Obama, when you go into a restaurant that if there's no whites sitting at your table that hey, come on over here. Here's a Jew and here's a Cuban and I want somebody from the Middle East. Let me have somebody else over. Yeah, that fat man right there. Let's sit down. Give me a break. Now, I do tell people that they should come out of their caves. And I think getting a perspective, I think, from that point, but the way she says things, and then she's got to clear her there's white people there. She's like so uncomfortable with whites. And God, I have to remind so many African Americans of things that whites are so bad. There were hundreds of thousands of whites that lost their life fighting for African Americans in this country. Abraham Lincoln, he fought the Emancipation Proclamation. My goodness gracious. I mean, come on. There's been victories, and there are victories. There's more multi-millionaire African Americans than any other time in history, but please go on.
But I would see that in Congress. I mean, one of the most interesting points I told you about this
What's
is
that?
Usually at the State of the Union address.
Oh, okay.
Where, you sit in the balcony and watch the State of the Union.
Like you do.
Like you do. No more. Like you do.
Yeah, like you do. You see it on TV. I'm in the room. But when you're in the room, what you can see is this real dichotomy.
Yeah.
That on one side of the room, it's a feeling of color almost.
Oh, yeah.
On one side of the room, it's literally gray and white.
Oh.
Literally.
Are
That's
you colorblind?
the color palette on
No,
one side of
not
the room.
Oh, I see.
On the other side of the room, there's yellows and blues and whites
yellows.
and greens. Physically, there's a difference in color.
I see.
In the tone.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Because one side, all men.
Man.
All white. On the other side,
Here, all men.
some women, some people
Some women.
of color. And whenever I was sitting, I would always have a guest in that booth.
Well, good for you.
And I was always the most embarrassed.
She was embarrassed.
At the beginning when people would see that.
Oh.
Because I'd say that, is it just me? Am I looking at how governance works? And people look down at that and go, yeah, that looks good. That looks right. We're probably getting a lot done and we're doing it right. I look at that and I go, no wonder. No wonder we struggle. No wonder people don't trust politics. It's not.
That's it. Oh, that's, man.
What these rooms
oh,
look
my
like.
God. You were onto something. Are you smoking something? Give me a break. Are you kidding me? I mean, this is the left, folks. This is the left in true colors. If I ever heard it in living color, seriously, with this color game, this race game, pitting one against the other. Oh, it's just a bunch of white people. Instead of celebrating that she's African American, and she's mixing it up